Hey guys, in this video, I want to talk about observation feature in SwiftUI. This feature was introduced during developer conference in June 2023, and it's built on Swift macros to have the dynamics of observable object that we know. But instead of protocols and property wrappers, we are using Swift macros. Since observable is a macro, initially we will be looking at implementations behind declarations. We want to see how declarations wrap things up for us and clear out our models and the views from published properties or any property wrappers. Then we will be showing what's changed, comparing the whole thing with observable object components and how we can use this new feature. First, you could import the observation, and then we could go to the source of it by tapping on this. And now let's see what's going on here. We have a few macros under the tree of observable macro. I will try to explain things on a high level as much as possible since this is about observation, but I always like to talk about the details of things. So we will have this example struct called car gallery to cover the macro side of things first. Our end product would look like this on the left. Then when you expand it, you would see expansion on the right side. We could see a lot of things going on here when the macro is expanded, like observation track macros, register let declaration, non-isolated functions, extension, and a lot of things. So first, let's start with the attached extension macro. So this conformance macro is helpful with making our class conform to observable protocol. But I need to note that it doesn't really matter if you just conform to observable protocol in your classes. So it's better to always, call the observable macro. But this protocol is basically a type that emits changes upon receiving notifications. If you are finding this new concept hard to understand, I would recommend thinking it like this. Before, when we had our classes and models, we were conforming to observable object. So you could think it like this. Observable macro, specifically extension macro, is helpful with conforming to this observable object protocol. In actuality, it's not, obviously, but you could think it like this. As far as member attribute macro that we see here, which is again attach macro, it helps with adding observation track keyword when observable macro is expanded. So that is just attribute adding. It doesn't create the functionality behind that. So the functionality behind observable track macro you see is done by the peer macro itself. So it's a whole different macro. Basically, member attribute is just a putter guy to the specified declarations, So let's say I want to put the observation track macro to every var declaration. Basically, before what we would do is go to the var declarations and put publish property wrapper and say, okay, this needs to be the one that listens to changes, and this is the one that's updated. And that's it. And to continue with the member macro, what it does basically is that you see that $sign observation register, which is initializing observation register class. So member macro is creating that. And member macro is also creating with mutation and access non-isolated functions. In these functions, we are using methods of observation register class. So these methods and everything that you see that member macro is creating, they are mainly helpful with observation and tracking changes by using observation register methods. So when you make a change under the hood, they are updating our properties, working in coordination with peer macro of observation track. Now, if you were to look at the peer macro, it's not a lot of things to mention, but basically it's the whole functionality behind observation tracked macro. Since we cannot see the declarations and implementations behind or underneath, we can't really make a lot of insights about this one. So I'm going to continue with practices, and a good example would be showing first how things are replaced. As we were dealing with observable object and we were adding the protocol conformance, publish property wrapper for each and every variable that we want to listen to changes of, and so on. Now the picture has changed to look like this above. In our example, when using this car gallery in our SwiftUI view, we have made a transition of no longer needing to use observed object and or state object, but let declaration like this right here. So it will automatically update our properties in the car gallery model. Now let's also see how we can work with an array of observable marked objects and comparing them with the old version. I would say this is my favorite one out of the whole thing because, as you can see on the left, we have this list model that contains the object, and then when you want to make a change on the object, you have to go through this first, let's say, bridging observable object and make the modifications from there in your view. And that's a lot of things going on. But in the new version, on the right side, you could see that we are just declaring the list of items with var declaration. That's literally it. So when we are making a change, we are changing the item from the view without any indirect approach. So you don't need to be concerned about anything not being reactive. And we conclude this video, we have binding as well. So let's see how the binding has changed. Binding really hasn't changed, guys, to be honest with you. It's just the type annotation has changed to bindable, but you still need to do this, syntax with $sign when you want to bind something to another thing, right? And that's literally it, guys. This video is over. I have nothing else to really share with you on this one. So thank you for watching my video and wishing everybody a nice coding day or whatever you are doing. Goodbye. Thank you.